Hello, in this tutorial I'll be going over how to make the door that I made in a previous tutorial that's linked in the description and able to be locked and unlocked using a button press. I'll be doing this through Flux, but technically there is a way to also do this from components, but I just want a quick and simple way for an introduction to Flux. So here we go. So first I'll go to Smooth POV. So currently we have the door from the last tutorial. Still works like normal, but I've also gotten this just basic lock-ish kind of model. You could probably find something much better on Sketchfab or something, but just as a visual to show that the door is locked or unlocked. So to attach this, I'm just going to select the box and using secondary, remove context menu, open inspector. Also rename this to lock, so with the box selected, just or to whatever sort you want. If it's called like an FBX or something, you want an actual name, I'll just call this lock by just selecting the name and then renaming it. So I'll grab the lock now by just grabbing the slot at the top and then dropping it into box parent. And then I'll just grab this, position it something like so. Doesn't need to be perfect. And then I'm going to probably just disable the grabble by clicking that, and now you can see when I grab this, it just grabs the whole door now, as that's the only currently active joint thing. But if I re-enable this, this can be grabbed separately. So leave that disabled there. Close that. Then to get rid of the gizmo, we'll open context menu, deselect all, and then we just have a lock on the door. I might just fix up a little bit of its rotation. Z0. So now there's a lock on there. So, but still the door is functional. So to make this, so first interactors, got to make a button. So again, we'll just do create new, open the context menu, create new, 3D model. We'll just grab a cylinder. Again, we'll just open inspector, make this much smaller, like 1.05 or something, even a little bigger. 0. Yep, that should do. So now we have a button. So I'll rename this button 2. Cool. So now we'll just place this to the side, and to make, or if also you want to reorient something, grab it and then just press primary and that will snap it to a 90-degree rotation. So we'll just leave that to the side. So now to make this interactive, what we want to do is attach component, and we want transform interaction, and then we want touch toggle or touch button. If you do a touch button, you will have to implement the toggling system yourself, which I may actually do for this, as this is for a little bit more flux. But you can, I'll tell you when you can skip it if you want to use a touch toggle instead. So we'll do touch button, and then scroll right down. So there's a touch button. So now we're going to need a flux tip to link this to the joint and the lock. So we'll go back to our dash, go to the inventory, Resonite Essentials, Tools, and then we want this one here, just the one straight after dev tip, is the protoflux tool. So double click that, and then this should spawn out. So once this is spawned out, to de-equip your dev tool, open context menu, de-equip. Another way is, if you see in your avatar, you have these bars on your wrist. If you click on these two, that will snap whatever tooltip you have to them, and then they'll just stay there, and you can just click on them and re-equip them as need be. So we'll equip the protoflux tool by just clicking equip, and now we have it equipped. So first we're going to need a touch button event. So we'll open our context menu, browse nodes, and bring up the protoflux nodes browser. So now what we're looking for is we'll go into interaction, button events, and then you'll see on top of the protoflux tool, it's spawned out a little name there, button events. So to spawn this out, we'll just point anywhere, double click, and then this should spawn out. So now we need to link this button events node to the touch button we applied to this. So if you see here, on the button now, when it's hovering is enabled. When you click it, is press is now enabled. So to link this, we just grab the touch button component, so you see it's in here, and then just drop it into button. So what this has done is now linked that component to this protoflux node. So to get the outputs from this, especially if debugging or just testing, just click on a node or any of the outputs, and then you'll see it's made a ribbon between there and the end of your tip. And then to bring out a display, just press secondary, and then you see we have a pulse display. So what this does is when we click on the button now, you see that we get an impulse every time. Just like so. So, great. So what we'll do is we'll get rid of this by just grabbing it and closing it. And we'll go back to our protoflux nodes. We'll go back. And then what we want now is a Boolean toggle. So we'll go into flow. And we want data model Boolean toggle. So double click that. Spawn it out. And then we'll get this node. And then we'll connect pressed with toggle. So what this will do now is if we bring out the Boolean output by just clicking, pressing secondary, then you'll get a display here. When we click this, it changes this to true and false every time. We'll just keep clicking it and it'll keep changing it. So to now show the player that the button is activated or not, what we'll do is we'll go back to the button slot and we'll attach a component, assets, materials, PBS metallic or specular or whatever you want really. And then you'll see it's attached a material onto here. Generally you wouldn't just put a material onto the slot, but since we're going to be driving the color of it to show it activated, deactivated, we want the material on the slot, otherwise the assets deduplication can break some drives. So now with the PBS metallic on there, we'll grab albedo color, and then or emissive if you want, either one or two. We'll open this up, and then we want to drive, just like that. So now you see the albedo color is now 000, but it hasn't changed the color here. So you still need to apply this material to the mesh renderer. So we'll grab the PBS metallic at the top, you see it's black here, and then we'll scroll up till we see the mesh renderer right here. And then you see there's mesh and there's materials. So currently it's just using PBS metallic and root, which is the default material. So we'll drop that in there. Now you see it's turned black. Cool. So now we have a drive for albedo. So we'll put this over here. And we'll grab, so in the browser again, we'll go back. And then we want operators. And then we want conditional. And then we want value conditional. And then now we're going to look for color X. All the way down. So color or color X. Double click color X, spawn it out, and you'll get a ternary node or conditional node. And what this does is it takes in two values for either true or false, and then takes a Boolean value, which is just a true or false. So we'll put this here, connect the Boolean from the Boolean latch into the conditional, and then connect the conditional into the value field drive. So that's still 0, but now we need to give this some color values. So we'll grab onTrue, take that out, and then we'll put in a value color. So you have two ways. You can either click on the color here, I'll spawn out a color selector, and you just select a color here, see it changes there. Or you can just manually type in the colors, so we'll do green, So we want RGB, so green, and we'll make the albedo 1, 2. I mean alpha, sorry. So move these down a little. Another tip, if you're in desktop as well, is if you click on a node, you'll snap to that node plane, and you can hold control right click to pan around, and that makes it a lot easier to work with flux. So with this done, if you see now, if we click this, it will now turn to black and red, black and green. So we'll also add a ret value by just grabbing the on false, bringing it out, and then since we already have some values here, we'll just grab the one from there, put it into red, put that there. Now you see we have a red and green toggle for the button. Cool. So now we probably also want to make the lock disappear and toggle the joints enabled so you can't open it when it's off. So we'll go first, probably grab this and deselect all so we don't see that. Get rid of the gizmos, so we'll go back to the door, and then we want the joint enabled property. Grab this, same as we did before, grab, open context menu, drive, see that's turned purple, and then you have the enabled drive here. We'll go back here, and we'll connect the toggle into there. And now you see, since that's off, we can no longer grab this. Once we enable it, we can now turn the door. And if you check the inspector as well, you can see that change happening. So see it's off, and the button's red. Click that, it's now checked, and we can grab it. Cool. So, and we also probably want to make the lock disappear. So for that one, what we'll do is we'll select the lock, double click on it, then we want the active variable, grab this, open your context menu, drive again, and you see it's disappeared. And then, but since we want the lock to be active when this is false, we want to get a not node. So we'll go back to a node browser, go back, and while we're still in operators, we want to go to Boolean, and we want the not node, double click, and then not bool, and then that'll spawn out the not node. And then what this does is if we check that value there, see it's currently false, but when you plug it into the not node and we bring it out, it makes the opposite of this true. So if this is false, it's true. If this is true, it's false. So we'll get rid of these displays, and then we'll connect this into active. You see it's reactivated when we can't move it. And when we activate this, the lock disappears, and now we can move the door. Cool. So now to get rid of this flux, it's not just in the world, and pack it away, we'll go back to our inspector. We can close out our flux browser for now. And then on the door's parent, so I'll rename this to this door. Well, actually, it probably might be better to do this on the button. So on the button, we will create a new child by clicking this button here, the down arrow with the plus on top. Click that, and so we have button child right there. So we'll select that. We'll rename this to button, get rid of child, and just call this button flux. There we go. So now what we'll do is select the flux by, when you hold secondary, you see a ring pops up around the flux tip. So what this is doing is when you point it at some flux, it turns it blue, and that means you've selected this part of flux. It also lets you move groups of nodes as well, which can be handy. With this selected though, we'll grab the flux node, or the where we're going to pack it to. So button flux, you see it right there as well. We will open our context menu and then click pack into. Now you see it's disappeared, but if we click the down arrow here, all of the nodes are just packed away inside here. You can actually see the positions as well. And this should also be technically a little more efficient, and yeah. So now it's packed away, but the functionality of the door still works. So it's still locked. When we click the button now, it's now green and we can unlock it. and we can put this button somewhere around the map if you want to, leave it locked. And then the player, let's get rid of the gizmo. Player may find it, click the button, go back to the door, open it, and so on. One more thing I forgot to mention was once the flux has been packed, if you want to get the flux out to continue working on it, grab the button flux slot, so you see it here, open context menu, unpack, and there it is. You also see now the flux is still parented to the slot like it was packed, so when you move this around, it would also move around the flux, and it's still in there. And then to pack it again, you just select it, button flux, back into, done. Should be it for this tutorial. I may have more tutorials coming up, but for now, hopefully this helps. And if you have any more questions, again, the Resonite Discord will be in the description. Feel free to ask any questions up there. I may also add some corrections in a pinned comment as well, or responding to comments as well. But yeah, hopefully this helps. And yeah.